We have lots more news in the NHL to discuss ahead of opening night. We have a waiver claim today for Johnston, formerly of the New York Islanders. Plus, we have a signing in Toronto with Noah Gregor and other new players on waivers today. We'll discuss all the latest coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, we have some more news to talk about here today. Clearly, we have a busy news day ahead of opening night. First up, we had a waiver claim here today. We had the only player on waivers yesterday was Johnston of the New York Islanders, who had 3 years left on his contract at $1.1 million, and he was claimed. He was picked up by the Anaheim Ducks. To be honest, I am completely surprised. I didn't think anybody would want anything to do with that contract given the term on it. I can understand if you're looking for somebody to be more of an enforcing type player, fourth line grinder, not afraid to drop the gloves. Sure, he fits that bill, but it's just the contract. You don't usually see players with multiple years, especially 3 or more years on the contract, get picked up. But Pat Verbeek decided it was a great decision. He, in my opinion, did the Islanders a favor, considering he's really been a spare part for them. Basically, I think he was signed to that contract a few years back because I think they had concerns that Matt Martin was going to retire, and he didn't. So he's kind of been an extra piece there. It hasn't played a ton. At times he has, but still, for the most part, somebody who's been an up and down kind of guy. Clearly, in Anaheim, his former AHL coach with the Bridgeport team, AHL affiliate of the Islanders, is now with the Ducks, so there'll be a familiar coach there. Maybe he put in a good word to help them pick him up. But obviously, lots of young players in Anaheim, lots of young, skilled talent. They do have a few other players around who can kind of fit the bill of being a veteran guy who can stick up for their teammates, and Johnston will get more of an opportunity with the Islanders, or than the Islanders for sure. So that was surprising today. More news on the NHL waiver wire as well. We have 3 more players on waivers. In Tampa, we have Alex Barré-Boulet. He's on waivers. That is so that the Lightning can demote him if he clears and bring up Zach Bogosian, who was also cleared and right now is in the minors, but they'd rather have the extra help on the blue line. So we'll see if that transpires. Barré-Boulet, hard to say if he gets picked up or not. The Toronto Maple Leafs have forward Bobby McMann on waivers to be demoted to the Toronto Marlies. Obviously, McMann was dealing with an injury and is okay now. So McMahon's on waivers for the Leafs. I know there were some that thought the 27-year-old might get a chance to make opening night, but ultimately got hurt and had some other players kind of beat out for those few spots, especially Fraser Minton was a bit of a surprise this year in training camp, to say the least. And the Los Angeles Kings have goaltender David Rittich on waivers as well to be assigned to their AHL affiliate. Obviously, in LA, Rittich follows as their number 3 goalie behind Talbot and Copley. And I suspect, you never know, he could get picked up, most likely clear, but we'll see what happens at 2 o'clock Eastern time tomorrow. Now, we also had a signing today. The Toronto Maple Leafs have assigned Noah Gregor, who went to camp on a PTO, formerly of the San Jose Sharks, and had himself a terrific camp and grinded himself out a fourth-line role. So he gets a 1-year, one-way deal at $775, which is league minimum. So to sign Gregor, they had to demote McMann through waivers, which is in the process of happening here. And they've also had to take former first-rounder from this past year's draft, 2023 draft class, Easton Cowan, and he was still on the roster. They, I think, kept him an extra day on purpose just to be cap compliant yesterday. Just made things a little bit easier, and then they kind of had everything planned out so that he would go back to the OHL today. So he's been reassigned back to the London Knights, where he'll go back and hopefully have a big year of progress in junior hockey. But I think it's fair to say he looked really good in training camp, and certainly I think had a great experience and set himself up well for the future, and carving himself out a spot here over the next 1 or 2 years when he's a little bit more ready. But in Gregor's case, the guy's got a good shot, he's got good speed. Things didn't quite work out in San Jose, but I mean, he did put up decent numbers before. The last few years with the Sharks, he's been a player who's mostly been an NHL guy, but he has spent some time in the minors as well. Overall, they obviously really liked his game, and part of the process of finalizing their roster, they kind of had clearly like a little bit of a puzzle to put together. They traded Sam Lafferty to create some space. They had to demote McMann, but they had to wait for him to be cleared medically. Cowan got to stay an extra day because of that. And he goes back to junior. Fraser Minton stays on the roster. He'll get his 9-game tryout or less, and then Gregor fills out the role vacated by Lafferty on the fourth line. So at the end of the day, it's a good amount of business. Like I said, it's opening night tonight. We have a trio of games, lots of NHL action. To be interested in, you get the Lightning and the Predators. You got the Connor Bedard debut with the Blackhawks against the Pittsburgh Penguins and Sidney Crosby, one of his childhood idols. That should be a fun game. Be curious to see how Bedard makes out in his first NHL action. And of course, tonight you've got the Stanley Cup banner raising in Vegas as they host their expansion cousins, Seattle Kraken. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a busy day. It already has been. There could be more. We saw a trade earlier as well with Colorado and Carolina. And just nice to have hockey is officially back. From a fan perspective, it's exciting, and I hope you're ready to enjoy lots of great action for the 23-24 season. I also put out a video earlier with tons of great bold predictions, 32 bold predictions for the 32 teams in the 23-24 NHL season. Check that out if you haven't already. So that's all for now. I likely will be back later with another news video, so stay tuned for that. Otherwise, there's plenty of content from today to catch up on the channel. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.